So here's what it'll look like the first time you open Expression Web. We'll hit it there. Now this might be in your start menu or it might be on your desktop depending on how you installed it. So it'll fire up, and then when it does, if it's the first time you've opened Expression Web, it'll look just like this. There's no site open, and you can always tell by your folders list. And it's got the obligatory untitled1.html. And so every time it opens, it will create this page. Then working with Expression Web, you've got your menu bar across the top, and each of the options under this menu will relate to a file operation, an editing operation, viewing, whether you use visual aids. We can get into all this later. The neat thing about it is you can close or hide any of these panels. You can take a panel from here and you could float it here, or you could dock it in another area, like for instance there. But no matter what or where you drop things, you can always, and you can tell where it's going to dock by that blue border that happens. Now, no matter what, you can always go Panels, Reset Workspace Layout, and it takes it right back to how it was. One of my favorite is Panels, Hide All. And then you have all that real estate for your actual page, which is going to look a lot better when you have an actual site open. So let's just go back, Panels, Auto Hide All Panels, and then let me show you how you're supposed to open a site. You can do File, Open, and it's completely wrong. And here's the warning on this. If I do File, Open, and let's say I go into my documents, and let's see, maybe there's an HTML file in there that we can try this with. Oh, okay, and let's say we go after default ASP and we open it. Okay, we have default ASP open, but there's no site. So anything you do here won't relate to the rest of the pages in the site, and it can turn into a problem for you. So let's just close this. This is the way that a site gets open. Site, open site. And if you're working with the book, what we're going to do is go to Documents, Microsoft Press, Expression Web 4 step-by-step, and this is the sample site. So we'll double click it, open, open, and there it is. And you can see a difference because now you've got all the files of the site here in the folders list. You have the files also showing in site view. You'll also notice that now you've got several different ways that you can view the site. Reports view, hyperlinks view. To make hyperlinks view work, you would grab a file from here, drop it onto the page, and it'll show you all of the hyperlink relations to this, which would be the home page of the site. Let's go back to folders, and we're going to open the home page of the site. And we might as well open chapter 1 because that's what this video is about. So let's do that too. And then there's chapter 1. So this is where we go hide all panels. You really have some nice real estate here to do all your work. Some people like to work in design view. I prefer split view. And the neat thing is, when you select something in split view, it also selects it in the code view. You select it in design, like let's grab this, H2. This little thing here is called a block level selector, and you can turn it on or off. I like to leave it on because it makes it really easy to grab stuff. So bam, we hit that H2. You can see in the code the H2 is highlighted, and this works for anything. Like let's grab this block quote, and it highlights the block quote. You'll also see on this quick tag selector that the block quote is selected, and there's some really neat stuff you can do. You can select the tag, which we did through the UI. You can do select tag contents, which is excellent if you want to paste content inside of an existing HTML tag. You can edit the tag, which brings up the quick tag editor, and I can change that from block quote to just a standard paragraph if I wanted to. And then you hit that, and then you can see right here in the visual pane, the design pane, it's turned to a paragraph, and in the code pane it's turned to a paragraph, which isn't really what I wanted, so we'll just take it back. That's the undo button. Okay, so let's keep moving on, and let's take a look at some of the other things that you can do in this basic user interface of a page. So the user interface, no matter how you like to have it, the main thing to keep in mind is that it's designed to be customized. So don't just let it sit the way that it opens when you first open Expression Web. And you may find that you like to change it based on the type of work that you're doing at the time. So let's look at an unusual way to deal with this. We'll go to Panels, take the auto hide off of them, and we'll set this workspace layout. Now here's an interesting thing. I like the design pane and the code pane, but if you're a real heavy coder, you might like to go code pane, and then under panels you'll find snapshot. And this gives you a little bit better rendering and a little bit more flexible rendering of what you're actually looking at. So let's drop this over here into there. We're going to drag that to about halfway. We're going to close that panel, close that panel, close that one, and I just want to hide this one because I always need folders list. So we can move this over to here, and let's just refresh this. So instead of the split view, you'll have an actual code pane and then an actual browser rendering. So what it does is in this case, it's thrown it to Internet Explorer 7, but we can always pick, let's say, Firefox. And we can see what it would look like in there. And while it spins up. And another thing to keep in mind is, if you're going to go code view, you might want to take a look at view, and then we'll go down to toolbars, and then we'll take code view. And then this code view toolbar that appears has a lot of buttons that are specifically for working in code. And this is what I found that they like to use most out at the Microsoft's office in Seattle or Redmond. It all depends on how you like to work. But no matter what, you can always just go to Panels, Reset Workspace Layout, back to Split, and you can't mess up anything. You can always go back to the way it was. And then we'll just go to View, Toolbars, and then we'll take the Code View toolbar away. That gives us another thing to look at. Let's say you like to work in Design View, but for some reason you want it to render exactly as or as close to it would look in a browser. So let's do this. We'll go Panels, Auto Hide All, and then we'll go to View. And then you have these visual aids here, and this main button will show or hide all of them. This is the block selection tags that we talked about, visible borders, empty containers, all these different things. They're designed to give you a visual representation of something that's not necessarily a visual item. If you take them away, basically the only one you're going to have is for the dynamic web templates core element, which in this case is an editable region. The rest of this page is wrapped in the dynamic web template itself. So you can take them away or you can add them. I always like to have them because we don't need the UI of our application to give us an idea of what it's going to look like when it gets to the browser. Two reasons. Right here we have the browser preview, and then on the drop down you have the different sizes and the different browsers that you can look at it in. And then you can do preview in multiple browsers, preview in multiple at 8x6, preview in multiple at 1024 by 768. So let's just let's try it this way. We'll do preview multiple. There's Internet Explorer. there's Firefox, there's Chrome. No, that's not Chrome. That's Safari. And so it allows or enables you to cycle through the different browsers that your visitor might be using. And so that's a real helpful thing. The actual live browser preview straight from the development UI. Let me get rid of that. Okay, great. Now, let's take a look at one more option that we have, and that's Super Preview. And this is an interesting application. So let's reset our workspace, panel, bring them back, and then we'll do Super Preview. This is a neat application, and it's especially useful when you're trying to debug what might possibly be going wrong, why a page renders one way on Internet Explorer and then there's another way. Now, over here, we have Safari running on a Mac system. This is kind of interesting because what happens is Microsoft is hosting a Mac operating system in the cloud on their servers and then parsing your pages through this Safari browser. So it gives you the ability to check and see what it looks like so that you can see, what your page would look like in a Safari browser, even if you don't have a Mac operating system available to you, or you just want to have a quicker method to get at it. So let's OK this out. And some of the other things that you can do is down here is your DOM, and that stands for Document Object Model. Now let's take a look at this. As I select things here, they will select on both renderings. So I'm seeing here Internet Explorer 8, I'm seeing over here Safari 4. And so you can get an idea of maybe this doesn't look exactly right. It's got some padding here, and then when you select it, I can see that my size is 694 by 19, 288 pixels from the left and 456 from the top. So you can see over here, I got 1 pixel less, and I've got 5 pixels less from the top. These are not necessarily problems that I would go after and spend time trying to fix, but it's something that's there if you have an issue where you really need to fix it, where if an image is superimposed over something else. And so we can go through our document object model tree and select these here. Like let's say I want that block quote. Well, it'll grab it over here on both the Safari and the Internet Explorer 8. And then there's one more thing that's pretty important to take a look at here. You can see that we have split view side by side. We can do split view horizontal. This is probably my favorite for debugging, and that's overlay. And so what it does is it takes both of those browser composites and it puts one over the other. And I use this when I check pages, and all I want to see is that I don't see anything that's tremendously out of place. You're going to see a little bit of blurring. It's two browser renderings superimposed. And as I scroll down this page, I'm not seeing anything that's a problem that's big enough that I would want to do something about it. If I did, let's say it was this picture. Now, let's find something that's more realistic. Generally a hyperlink or a little bit more advanced tab. There, you've got some serious distance between the two of these. So we might look at this and say, where are we? We're 4223 from the top and 4308. So that would be something that you could address. And then as you highlight it, it's highlighted in both of these document object models. So you would look in, you exit Super Preview, return to your page, make your adjustment, and then move on, and then come back here to recheck it. But Super Preview, especially with this remote Mac preview. I mean, we can always load Mac, or we could always load Safari for Windows and use it locally, but sometimes it will just look different because it's running on a Mac operating system. And so with this Super Preview remote, it's just fantastic because you've got legitimate Mac operating system running the Apple Safari browser, and it just works out super, super well. Really, really like it. Really like Super Preview a lot, and it's well worth looking at. Let's return back to our page. And so there you go. This is all about looking at these pages that you're working on in a way that you need to or want to look at them. Don't get limited by the way that this UI pops open for you on your initial attempt, and adjust things. You know, move things around, get rid of things, add things, and just experiment, because to repair everything or reset everything, you're just one click away. Reset workspace, and no matter what you've done, it's going to go back to this default workspace layout. And so there you go.